caught slipping there for a second. We're just going live now on YouTube. So for all the YouTube listeners and watchers, welcome back on the YouTube. If you want to watch live on YouTube, the Doctor's Surgery, and on YouTube you search Doctor's Surgery, and then after you search Doctor's Surgery, you go to filter by channel. You just go filter, choose channel, and you'll see right at the top the Doctor's Surgery. You'll see TDS in big black and white writing. When you look closer, you'll see it says that under the TDS, the Doctor's Surgery. And that's us. We always number one under the filter, the channels filter of the Doctor's Surgery, and you can watch live. You just click to watch, and you will go live, and you can watch us live in the studio. Well, you can watch me live in the studio with my mask on, not much to see. So if you're listening, it would just be hearing me anyway because my face is covered like a paranoid man, I guess. It's just that I like to keep my private life separate from my sharing of time with the public. Um, where was I? We were summarizing just before the end of the advert, the various aspects of things. Just to recap quickly, we discussed mass, and we were talking about the health and the COVID, and talking about, as a people, we need to look after our health a bit more. That COVID-19 has highlighted the health needs that we need to be addressing a bit more. It's been a red flag to us to say we're not doing what we're supposed to be doing. We need to do better. And in doing better, it means that we need to start looking into what's healthier. Growing up with a diet and a dietary plan doesn't necessarily always mean the diet and a dietary plan is always the best. One of the things that I always hear people say, is that, oh, they say bread's good for you and rice is good for you, for example. And people don't really sit down and research and check these things out. So, for example, rice. Black people love to wash a rice, for example. You know, I don't know one black person that don't wash the rice. You know what I'm saying? I got an uncle that he's passed away now, rest in power. And one day my little cousin saw him cooking, and he didn't wash the rice. He just threw the rice in the pot. See, my uncle, he weren't nasty. He was just a little bit more clued up. And whenever he used to try to teach us those things back in the day, um, it would it would bounce back negative on him, where people would say that he crazy with some of the stuff he was saying, because growing up in a strongly religious country and someone's telling you about Egypt and black kings, you start wondering if they're crazy. Especially going back in those days when you didn't have YouTube and social media, where information was sparse. If you weren't reading a book, you wouldn't get the information. Now people can watch videos, listen to the radio, and they get somewhat a little bit more information along the way. So we know that, well, my little cousin saw him cooking, and he ran to my aunt and said, he's cooking the rice without washing it. And my aunt started shouting at my uncle for cooking the rice without washing it before. And I affectionately remember this story so well. And his response was, well, you know, yeah, because they can manage the rice, yeah, they're cussing him, but why don't they wash the sugar and the flour as well? You know what I'm saying? And if the whole point is that people are washing the rice because they it's manageable, and they say, oh well, it must be dirty. But in essence, with the way rice is processed, and you all need to check this out, white rice, the way that rice is processed, it is void of all the essential minerals. So what do? After they finish the processing, they respray the rice with phosphates and calcium on all these things. So the stuff that people are washing off the rice, that they call starch these days, probably in the olden days it made sense, but now these days, when the stuff that people are washing off the rice is the actual essentials that makes the rice what it is. So when you wash rice and you eat it, you end up with health conditions. If you were just feeding on rice, you get problems called a problem called beriberi. Research it. You'd be surprised. So rice is something that people big up and they eat every day like a staple. But in essence, once it's washed, it has it. Once you wash it, it has no nutritional value. It's just a belly full. So when people talk about they don't want to eat the plastic rice from China, you remember that big deal about plastic rice over the last couple of years? They said they don't want to eat plastic rice from China because the Chinese are giving plastic rice. Well, the rice that ain't plastic came far better than the plastic rice. This is the detriments of where we are, with how far off the beaten track we've gone. So all these things that we need to kind of bear in mind. So yes, health is something that people need to start looking at, and start looking for remedies. And I think one of the things that we need to do to combat the state always pulling us up for help, pushing to help our people, we need to start doing things a bit more structured. So I know we know the state and the powers that be were shutting down people for saying what could cure and what could treat COVID 19. And what should have really been happening is that a radio show like this should have been be making contact with like health practitioners and nutritionalists, and we should have been asking them in interview what things can boost your immune system, and so that they can give their research and their studied point of view from an acceptable position within the UK. And we know that there's plenty of people that do herbology. We can contact herbologists, herbalists or whatever they called, and nutritionalists, and all these people that have that certification behind their names, so that when they present these things, it's not because someone's taken a pseudo cure from Google and coming on the radio and saying, yeah, if you want to cure COVID 19, then take a smidgen of pigeon feathers and boil it in with some lemon sauce. And it's I say that because I wanted to use an extreme example, and I hope no one doesn't go and do that. But the point I'm making is, whilst we all might have little remedies, we know the society isn't accepting of our culture and how we present things within our culture. So to circumnavigate and bypass these boundaries and barriers they put up, we contact our specialists within these fields, and then we ask them in interview in a structured way, same like they do within the white press. We ask them in a structured way what things boost immune system. And those qualified people that within that setting from our background, they can start saying, well, things that boost the immune system are A, B, C, D, E, F, G. You know what I'm saying? And then we can then, in our all intelligence, ask questions about those things that might be an urban legend. We might say, well, we hear that orange skin or lemon skin boiled in water can, and they might have some idea around that if they study aromatherapy. We get an aromatherapist in, and we say, according to aromatherapy, how is it that these things help to breathe? And the aromatherapist might say, well, it helps us to breathe because it triggers the olfactory nerves in the nasal cavity to open up, and it allows the airways to open up because of that, because of these triggers, in terms of these triggers with these nerves and these pathways, and it allows easier breathing. It's not a cure, it just see, these things will then be placed in such a structured way that we won't lose credence and ability to be able to present these things. And as a result, and I have to look in the mirror when I say these things. This is how we need to be moving forward. You know what I mean? And as Britain's first Black Current Affairs show, we aim to endeavor to start making those contacts with those necessary professionals to help you, the listening audience. We can do those interviews, we can get those questions asked, how to boost the immune system. So if you are in that line of field of study and you're certified, make contact with us. What's the email again?
The Doctor Surgery at Gmail.
So the email is
The Doctor Surgery at Gmail.
Can't hear you. Can't hear you.
The Doctor's Surgery at gmail.co.uk.
So the Doctor's Surgery at gmail.co.uk.
Mm-hmm.
So for those of professionals in that field, we want to start setting up interviews. Even brief comments. So we're looking for specialists in each of these areas. So the Doctor's Surgery is THEDRSSURGERY. I'll give it again. Doctor DRS for doctors, and then surgery SURGERY. So THEDRSSURGERY at gmail.com. If you're a qualified practitioner in each of these respectable fields, we'd like to be able to interview qualified practitioners so we can start presenting these things to the public in a structured way. They say we can't tell people how to do things; we have to lead by example, right? So if you know anyone that's a qualified practitioner, when they have their correspondence, their CNN correspondent in Baghdad and all these stuff, we want to have our aromatherapist correspondent. We want to have our doctors correspondent or pharmaceuticals correspondent, or we want someone in each of those remit that's qualified, that's able to give a structured response to questions and help us guide us through these. And rather than listening to LBC where we're getting white folks talking predominantly to white folks, predominantly about white folks' problem. It's their thing. We have to understand that. It's not one size fits all. And this is the thing that they're trying to do, and one size doesn't fit all. And that's why the people that aren't truly represented by that one size fits all philosophy are the people that have suffered the worst from this viral impact, who are Asian people, what they call BAME, Black and Asian Minority Ethnic, as they would say. So we, as people that aren't represented, let's start to represent ourselves, but we need to do it in a structured way. So if you're from any of those professional background, we'd love to hear from you. We also need people that are working amongst the mental health field. So if you're in a mental health trust or charity, or you have one, drop us an email again to highlight what you're doing. Send us some of your flyers so we can get an interview up with you, so that we can present it to the listening audience, so that coming back into the winter months, let's not wait for them to say you can't say that and you can't say this and you can't say that. Let's take it a proactive way where we're getting the professionals in, the qualified professionals, and the qualified the organizations that have the recognition to do these things, to come in and ply the trade and get it out there, be a part of the spearhead going forward. So that's the Doctor's Surgery at gmail.com. So THEDRSSURGERY at gmail.com. That's the email. If you're a professional out there in any field, really, just let us know, because we're looking for people that we can contact, and you'll be our contact in those guys, so that we can make, when we do the interviews, you will be getting that credibility for being that recognized professional out there. So we can always guide our people the right way. We're not getting them to mix up potions that might be toxic, or, noxious or something. We get people to make steps and have a lifestyle change right now that will take them a lot further. Yeah. And if you know someone, you can recommend someone, even if it's not yourself, someone that's helped you along the path, that's a qualified professional. Okay. So it's the Doctor's Surgery, and we're in the final furlong of the show. And just to summarize, we've talked about so much. So that's the mask in health. The next aspect of things that we want to cover, just the last aspect of things, that before we wrap up with COVID for the rest of the day, because we're not going to go back to COVID after this part. probably until next week if it stays in the news, which is likely to do. Um, is Have you guys heard of these COVID parties? You know, now they're saying that people have been having COVID parties. So someone that's been diagnosed with someone that's been diagnosed with the virus as having the virus after a positive test, then throws a party. They throw a party, and everyone turns up at this person's house and have a party. And this is something that's been taking place in America called COVID parties, and it's led to a death where the on the news the lady was saying, oh, the doctor was saying that, oh, the patient told a colleague that they regretted going and so forth. I mean, any patient would regret going to if they really did, as stupid as that. But it didn't sound very honest what that doctor was saying. Quite frankly, she sounded like she was lying out of her teeth, but in a way to scare the public, to make sure that people don't do such crazy stuff. Have you heard of COVID parties? And is that something that people we need? We've been partying a lot when we look at things what's been happening. So we have to be mindful, because remember, it affects us the most. So rather than saying, okay, right, we're going to run away from the parties, we're going to focus on coming shows as best as we can. Once we get the professionals in, on best helping you to say, right, if you're going to be doing all these things, be in the best position. People used to contact myself and colleagues back in the day saying, oh, should we take immunization for this or for the child or blah, blah, blah. And I would never tell anyone what to do from what not to do. I said, well, if you're not going to do that, what's going to be the alternative? What are you going to do to make sure that child's immune system is strong and they won't suffer the serious adverse effects that can happen with measles, rubella, or mumps? What are the alternatives? What can be done? So it's not just about sitting there and saying, I won't take this vaccine for COVID if it comes out. What are you doing to boost your immune system so your body is prepared to fight it the best way possible? And remember, now they're saying, and I'm saying, now they're saying that, and this is a study from King's College London. This came out yesterday or the day before. I think it was yesterday. What day is today? Tuesday. It came out yesterday, I think it was, that the long-term immunity from COVID-19 antibodies from people that have gotten over it doesn't seem to last. It seems to decrease over months. I find that study premature. And so what they're trying to say is that people will need a vaccine year in, year out, because the body doesn't, it's like the common cold. You can catch it every season. But I remember as a child growing up, they used to say that you never catch the same cold twice. So now they're trying to say it's the same cold you're catching twice, because according to their very words, you never catch the same cold twice. So it makes me scratch my head now. I need to go back and do some research onto that. So this is why we need the professionals in, so that they can answer those questions, so we're not speculating and giving the wrong information. Shout out to the drop caller. Thank you for calling. If you want anything to add, or you can expound on any of these points, 0753-996-8143. I'll give it again, 0753-996-8143. One last time for the money, 0753-996-8143. If you can expand on that, because that's the new study, and that's suggesting that every year there will be millions across the globe, there will be billions upon billions of vaccines. Someone's looking to get very, 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 very rich. If you got money to put into pharmaceuticals, it seems like some of these pharmaceutical companies, that's probably, look for the ones that's owned by Fauci and Bill Gates. It seems like they're going to be making a lot of money, because this is what they're saying, that every year you're going to need a top up. Think about it. Every year I have to get the vaccine, These people.
Isn't that what you do for the flu?
I mean, every year they give you a different flu vaccine.
Oh.
You know what I'm saying? They don't give you the same flu vaccine every year. So for them to try to say that, you know what I mean, that it's like the common cold. You know, this is why we need a medical professional to explain that one. So if you're a medical professional and you're listening on your day off because you had a 72-hour shift in the hospital, because I do know doctors do work hard, and you hear me rambling and I'm looking for answers, let me know. It's a doctor's surgery. We want to keep it accurate, clinically accurate, you know, so that anything we say, we can validate and verify with empirical data. Um, that's the COVID wrapped up for the day. Unless you call in and expand on any of those points, you know, I hope you do. If you got answers that I don't have with those, I'm going to look into it a bit more. Um, you also have the police apology, you know, as the next aspects of the discussion, the police apology. And with the police apology, young Bianca and her partner and their baby, as for those who don't know, they were stopped by the police. When was this? They were stopped by the police last week, was it? Or so, and um, were we turning up? What we turning up?
Saying she can't hear it.
What's that?
The show.
Can't hear the
I
show.
think it might be a case with maybe already. I'll have a quick look to see if it's playing. But
Okay. All right.
Thank you very much.
If you can hear the show, let us know.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
If you can hear the show, let us know. Oh, then cut you off.
One second.
If you can hear the show, let us know. If you can't, it means hold on. This is something.
I got it.
Yeah, if you can hear the show, let me know. I don't know if you can. I'm trying to figure out if you can. I think the show is on. You know what I mean? Sounds like it's on. 0753-996-8143.
Sounds like it's on.
It's on? Yeah. Can everyone wait? You sure it's just if you can? Well, it's all format, isn't it?
0753-996-8143. Sounds like it's on. It's on.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Does this have credit?
Just well, normally the phone ring off, so I'm wondering if it's just FM or the internet. Can everyone hear us? If you're listening, let us know how you're hearing us. If you're on the FM, let me know if you can hear me. I think that might be where the issue is, or if you're on the internet, I think we just tested the internet, so the FM is ID. If you're listening via the FM frequency, let me know if you're hearing me. By a quick text or a call, 0753-996-8143, 0753-996-8143. Are you listening via the FM frequency? Please let me know. I know that we're on the internet, but I don't know if you can hear us from the FM. I'll carry on for the sake of the people that are hearing us on the internet. But if you're on the FM, I'd love to hear from you, please. What was I saying? Yes, the police apology to Bianca after being pulled over in the car by her family, with her family by the police, and the stop was a very aggressive and rough stop that I found very disheartening in line to what's really taking place. It, like I said, if the only person that I know of in this country that the police aren't allowed to stop or investigate is the Queen, and as such, everyone else that is within that same line should be treated with the same level of respect, irrespective of which part in society they come from. Okay, gives thanks. Oh, so we did lose the FM for a while.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you for letting us know. What?
And the other guy is called too.
Again?
What's his name? Shout him out because he sorted it out. Oh, no.
Big up 206 for letting us know on 971. I mean, I'm not sure why we went off here. What's the last thing and how long have I been off here? I can give a quick recap for those who missed out on the in-betweens, because I did go through a lot. I mean, you can replay the recording on the YouTube, on the doctor's surgery. The recorded show will be there, and I want people to go there and subscribe. Get me some subscribers. Let YouTube pay me some money. You know, yeah. So I can do this thing full time. You know what I mean,
Thank
yeah.
you so much.
I think so. We're back on. Where did we cut up? We should have asked them.
I
We're
said 15 minutes.
15 minutes. We've been off.
Yeah.
Oh man!
You go from the start.
Wow! Wow! Someone really didn't want you lot to hear what I was saying about that. Wow! And I went into quite a lot of information. Right, 15 minutes. Man, I'm going to have to recommend that you lot listen to the last part of the show. It's going to be today's date. When you go onto the doctor's surgery later on, it's going to be on immediately, right?
Yeah.
This show is going to be on air as soon as it hits.
It's live now.
It's live now, and as soon as the live is finished, the feed stays on the YouTube.
Yeah.
Okay, so you can listen to the last half an hour, 45 minutes of the show. But it's very important to go back and listen to that portion, because I went into quite a lot of detail, and I was actually asking people to take the email and email in based on certain requests, and I'm so disheartened that that didn't go on the FM frequency. I'm so upset. But
15 minutes or more.
50 minutes or more. Oh man. Okay, so I'll recap quickly. Let me recap quickly. So I was talking about, I don't know if I can do it as eloquently as I did before, but I'll do my best. We were talking about the mask and the health and the COVID related issues. But one of the things that I was querying was COVID parties and so forth. And after that, I was highlighting about the need of going forward. We as a people, we've been partying a lot, we've been doing a lot, right? And in order to best prepare, we have to look at how the powers that be and the state were controlling the narrative during the COVID lockdown. And how the state and the powers that be were controlling the COVID narrative was because a lot of the people that were presenting on these formatted shows were doing so based on things that they would Google and they would check out and they would find and they would just say these things. One of the things that we have to do is to start to put professionals up front. So similar to how you have your correspondence with the major media houses, i.e. CNN, BBC, and they have their correspondence in different areas. They also have professionals that speak on their behalf. So they will have someone in the mental health field, a psychiatrist or someone that they can contact, and they would give a talk about whatever the specialism is with that person holds. We want to set up the same kind of infrastructure because we want to lead by example. So we want people out there that are qualified, whether you're a doctor, a aromatherapist, whether you are a herbalist or certified people, however, not simply self-taught. And I'm not taking away anything from the self-taught people. I'm self-taught. I don't want to present my information. I'm self-taught as well as certified in some areas, but I don't want to present my self-taught information. I would use it just as a guide to where we're to the show, as opposed to it being the narrative for me to teach you. We want those certified people that in their remit to be the experts in their field. Give them the time to shine because they took the time out to go and got the certification for such. And whilst we all should take the time out for understanding by being self-taught. So we want you all to be a part of the show. So if you are someone, a nutritionist, we want to speak to you about how we can boost your immune system, our immune system. If you are a doctor, we want to speak to you about certain queries that we have. One of those queries being, they're talking about that COVID-19 doesn't appear, there's a study by King's College London that says COVID-19 does not appear to be long lasting in terms of the antibody levels that it's found within the body, that it begins to reduce over time. And they're saying that by within a few months, the levels of antibodies have gone down significantly in most of the most recovered patients that from the virus, to show that they would probably the antibody levels are at a point where they would probably catch the virus again, akin to the common cold. My point earlier was that I always held the view and the opinion that we never caught the same cold twice. Once we get over the cold, we were over it, and every time we caught a cold, it was a different issue, not the same cold. However, I could be wrong, and this is why I'm saying it's not about my point. It's about getting the professionals to give us necessary interviews and their positions, and be that spokesperson that we can contact as a show, and that we can get the information out to the community in a structured way, as we should be, rather than just random people just Googling information and giving misinformation that could be destructive or unproductive to the public. So we keep things structured and professional all the way. So if you're a doctor and you can explain that, why they're saying that, I would love to some further elaboration on that. So whatever the profession is, and we would love to hear from you, so that over time we can highlight and be that person that we contact should that need for your professional field and awareness and knowledge comes up. So things like how to boost the immune system. If you're certified in a field that can give information per se around that, we would love to hear from you. So I kindly asking for you all to email the doctorsurgery@gmail.co.uk, and that THEDRSSURGERY@gmail.co.uk. The doctor's surgery@gmail.co.uk. I give it again, THEDRSSURGERY@gmail.co.uk. It's .co.uk, right?
.com.
.com, gmail.com.
Mhm.
Sorry, my apologies. Gmail.com, my apologies. So the doctor's surgery@gmail.com. So it's just the ending you're correcting. So the doctor's surgery@gmail.com. And once you drop us that email, we will be able to contact you during the course of the show to do various interviews, ask certain questions. So we're moving forward in a structured way where we become the voice of the people all together, not just us sitting here in the studio, but you as a remote panelist, and we bring highlights to your field and hopefully boost your field in terms of what your profession is. So we all work together to grow together and give the most accurate information to guide our people, because I do not want to know that we will enter into the winter months with the potential of losing through whatever means that these people in society, the so-called institutionally racist NHS, have in mind, of 60 to 70,000 people lost, because that's the projection of what they're saying, that we will lose 120,000 people, and at a 4-to-1 rate, you can expect around 50 to 60% loss of Black lives within that mix. Yeah, was that everything that I said? So I hope that makes sense. I did my best to summarize what I was going on about during that time of that blackout. And to get the full aspect of it, like I said, this show, you can go back and listen to this show immediately after the broadcast, because the show is on the Google, the YouTube channel straight away, the doctor's surgery. And what you search for the doctor's surgery, when you go to YouTube, you type in THEDOCTORSSURGERY, the doctor's surgery. You write out the full thing there. So THEDOCTORSSURGERY. On the YouTube, you search the doctor's surgery and then go to filter by channels, and the doctor's surgery will be the first one at the top. Okay, so once you do that, you'll be able to find you'll be able to listen to the show again for the bit that went missing. We'd love for you guys to subscribe, increase our subscription rate and level. All right. Just to summarize the rest of things quickly within in the limited time we now have available is the police apology. Now we know that of the police of the Metropolitan Police, Crusader Dick has come out and apologized to Bianca and her partner. But the apology was such a half-hearted apology, she should have kept it, because she apologized for how they felt, as opposed to apologize for the negative and prejudiced actions by her officers. And I say negative actions by her officers because the stop was aggressive, and the stop suggested that there was racial profiling in the reason why the stop, the actions in the stop, and the aggressive nature of the stop. And then there was racism in the fact that there was no observed need to think that the stop was inappropriate. So that's where the institution has backed a prejudice and racist behavior. So again, the institution is supporting racism. Now, they've since kind of backtracked a little because of the public outcry, because it's like they're blind to when the police does anything wrong, it's like they're blind to it. But they've backtracked a little. So what's her name again? Crusader Dick, head of the Metropolitan Police, what she's done, it's now been referred to the IOPC. I think it's the Independent Office of Police, whatever. You know what I mean? What an ugly woman. I don't care. She's just an ugly woman. Whenever I see her on the TV, I just say this woman's just ugly. You get me? Yeah, she's just an ugly woman. You see some people and you just say, yo, that person is attractive in their nature, but they're not pretty in her face. She's just an ugly woman all around. You know what I'm saying? She always trying to come across calm and nice and things. I ain't never seen her do nothing calm and nice, apart from tell people about institutional racism. Finish where? Oh, yeah, come tell this foolishness. Until you retract that statement, I'm not going to stop calling you an ugly woman, because the police is still racist. I don't care. Someone asked me, why do I say the police is racist recently? And I said, because they are. And I actually expounded on it in the sense to say, when you turn around and say the police is no longer institutionally racist, that's like giving a green card to continue with the foolishness, because nothing's changed. You cannot introduce policies for complaints and addressing issues, but not address the actual behaviors themselves and then say the organization's changed. However, ticking boxes that someone suggested that could help to correct something doesn't mean by ticking the boxes the problem is corrected. To correct something, you have to correct it. And someone might have made suggestions, which is the Macpherson report or whatever it was. Someone might have made suggestions as to how something should be improved, but it doesn't mean that those suggestions will always work. When you see true movements towards making something work is when you go above and beyond the recommendations, but by doing your own analysis, by bringing in those people that have been at the sharp end of the abuse from the police, and help and allow them to make the experience known, so you can even better facilitate the negative impact. And that's never been done. That's never been done. And until they do something like that, I think they should stop saying it. And there's so much good officers out there that get tarnished because of the rest of the idiots. So much good officers out there. And this is the reason why we know about racism in the police based on attitude, is because we all met good officers. And that's what makes us aware of when it's not right from when it's right. We've all met good officers that they deal with you so properly that when the next officer come a next time round and deal with you a certain way, the first thing like you have to wonder who this idiot talking to. So this is what I'm highlighting. This is what needs to get out there. It's important and it's crucial. It's essential. So what's the next point? Let me have a look at my little tablet of information before I wrap up. We got 10 minutes to go. So we've talked about the mosque. We've talked about black women. We've talked about the police apology. Text message reads: Virgin She Crusader is not a woman. Have you not seen her on the TV with her? All right. Text message. I don't think I can read all the text message as much as I don't like Crusader myself, But yeah. No, she bitter, man. She just don't. I understand what you mean. She doesn't like us, the gender men. She don't like us, and I think she's a bit biased towards that. You get me? You're looking at me like, wait, you really say that? Yeah, she don't like us. You get me? I ain't gonna say it no different. So when you can imagine us, the epiphany of male masculinity goes out there, she burn a fire. No, no, that might be going a bit too far. But in terms of jokes aside, she needs to do a better reform within the police force, and it can be done. It's not that it's impossible. It can be done. It just needs inclusivity. You cannot make changes for a people, about people, without inclusivity. You cannot do it. So to get up and change something yourself and make a declaration, it can't be done that way. There has to be inclusivity. And when I say inclusivity, those people most impacted by police action. So unfortunately, and Police Scotland has done it. Police Scotland, they've brought in criminals to help with the police to reform other criminals. So I'm not saying that she should go to criminals. I'm saying she should go to black people affected by the criminal justice system and that have cried out police brutality and police racism. Those people that have gone through the crux of the problem. Those are the people that should be a part of it to aid reform. Because once they are a part of it and they're aiding reform, when it goes wrong, then there's no one else to blame apart from the misbehavior of the person that's placed themselves in an adverse situation. And that is what is not happening at the moment. At the moment, we can still point the finger at the police through police action, simply because of how someone looks, their behavior is rash. And I'm taking it out heavily on Crusader, probably in some undeserved manner in parts, but nonetheless, it is what it is, and it needs to be addressed appropriately. And she's the head of the police force, so she gets the brunt of the anger and the vexation. So she should have been the first person to say there was a baby in the car, so that metal steel thing was not necessary, because that could have been glass in the baby's face. You can imagine you have your little baby in a car, newborn baby, and someone's about to smash glass in the baby's face, and the police who's meant to be protecting you and your family was going to smash glass in the baby's face, and the police commissioner, instead of coming out and saying, I didn't like the nature of what nearly transpired. She didn't have to agree with the people or disagree with her officers. She could have said, I didn't like what I saw about to transpire. I didn't like. That's all she had to say. And I would have said, you know what? She right. All she had to say, I did not like what was about to transpire. Because what was about to transpire was not right. Because there was a newborn baby practically in the car. So what was about to transpire was glass all over, could have gone in the baby's face, baby's eye, traumatizing that child at such a young, tender age. Traumatizing a young mother and criminalizing a father, because a father in that situation is going to go into rage. So they'll probably kill him because he's not trying to lick down a couple of them. So it's not right. And these things need to be said by those people in authority and position of power. I'm not trying to say tear down the police and be abusive. We had a caller, sorry.
Yeah. The caller was just basically touching on the 50 Cent and Lil Wayne situation, and just stating that maybe it's a case that 50 Cent and Lil Wayne have like a psychological or deep guilt issue of a case where they've treated women badly, and it's something that they're trying to cope with because of the guilt of treating their black partners badly, and a sense of they haven't picked someone in the same image as their mother, and it's coming to terms with not picking someone like their mother, but of a different.
I hear what the person's. I hear that. I don't disagree, because, like I'm saying, we all have to share so that we can all expound on the possibilities of why something might happen and to prevent it from happening in a negative way moving forward. What I will say is that both these guys in the same interview talked about not having a father influence growing up, and that father influence provides that little level of balance, that level of balance that would give them that guidance that they might essentially need. They didn't grow up with a father in that sense. And I'm not saying that if you grow up without a father, you don't have that, because there's been plenty of balanced people, but they have probably positive role models in their life. 50 should have, because he had a positive role model in his grandfather, but I don't know what the relationship was like. We all have relationships that when we leave those relationships, it leaves us bitter. And what was shown was an emotionally bitter scenario where you're taking out that personal experience on a global, on a nation or a community of people. And that's what I disagreed with. But what I said I was on the fence with was they weren't really lambasting women per se. They were just speaking about their experiences and why they decided to do what they did. And they made it a joke in a time and day when really we have to be one as a group. So I'm on the fence with, I understood where they were coming from, and I understood that it's taken out of context, but I'm also on the fence in the sense that they shouldn't have done it the way they did it at this time of day, and where we are now, and them denigrating their own mother's image just shows you they also didn't grow with their mothers either. That they don't have that bond and respect towards women. And they, you know what I mean? Because Lil Wayne, he's been a star since age 11, 12. And he's been among stars since age 11, 12. And he's not really been amongst his mother. He's been around male figures.
Can I just quickly ask the question? Why is it a case that Lil Wayne has been out with the exotic women, but it's always a positive experience? There's never any sort of issues. When in the media, I know there was a white lady who was selling his story or selling her experience with him, and he hasn't even come out and spoke about the white women doing that nonsense. Well, it's always...
Well, I mean, there's been, if we look at Lil Wayne and 50 Cent specifically in this scenario, there's different things that we can look at, and through the interest of time, we have to wrap up. But one thing I'll have to say, there has been negative experiences of black guys with white women, plenty, over time. So it's never been always one-sided and biased. So it's, in this scenario, it appears one-sided, but there's been experiences. For example, you know what I mean? A long time ago, I heard Beenie Man say, O.J. Simpson, you may talk to stick to your own kind. And it's the reason that was said wasn't that you can't have mixed relationships, is that you were a brother that was in a situation that being not with your own kind has caused you the world of pain. So from here on in, my advice for you is to stick to your own, because boy, it didn't work for you. And on that note, it might be right or wrong me saying it. On that note, we're going to wrap up for next week because we're out of time. You know, thank you for everyone watching on the channel live. Please subscribe. For everyone that's going to watch, please subscribe. The Doctor's Surgery. We'll catch you next week. Like I said, please email us if you're a professional, and we want to kind of grow with the community. be a community voice, just the spearhead, as opposed to being the sole voice. You know, we all teach each other and grow together. It's valuable hearing your opinion on these matters because it creates a different mindset and a different outlook that then makes it a bit more clearer. It's been the doctor's surgery. It's been love, you know, always. And I'll catch you guys again next week. Take care.